What's up, YouTube community? You are watching Is This Actually Healthy? I am your host, Juliana. If this is your first time here, then welcome. Or if you have seen my other episodes, then welcome back. The goal of my show is to give you practical tips so that you can make meaningful changes in your diet. I'm here to make you your own nutritional consultant. Today's topic is, do I have to eat breakfast? Now, we were often told, especially as kids, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And this may have encouraged us to shovel down a bowl of Cocoa Puffs before climbing onto the school bus. But as we transitioned into adulthood, I often talk to my friends and acquaintances, and it's common for them to tell me that they don't eat breakfast at all. Now, this is very unusual to me. I can't imagine going a morning without satiating my long accumulated overnight hunger. So for these people who choose not to eat it, whether they are short on time or they don't have an immediate appetite in the morning, is there an actual consequence to not eating breakfast? I eat breakfast every morning, but I actually seem to be part of the minority. A study done by the Kellogg Company in 2017 surveyed Americans and found out that only a third of the participants in the study consistently ate breakfast every morning. Scientific studies debate on whether or not it's necessary to eat breakfast. I wouldn't say any of them argue that you shouldn't eat it because there's negative consequences, but there are studies that say that it doesn't particularly matter one way or another. Let's quickly discuss each side. I admit that I am a little bit biased toward the pros of eating breakfast, so let's discuss the benefits. Number 1. Eating breakfast every morning helps you establish a routine with your eating. Being consistent and breaking apart your meal times is an important habit to build if you're watching your food intake. 2. Eating breakfast stimulates and regulates your metabolism. By consuming even something small, you're taking in energy, which goes to your muscles, brain, and bloodstream, and it tells your body it's time to be active. This is particularly important if you go on a run in the mornings or do some other form of exercise. Taking in extra energy at this time could be essential for your performance. 3. Eating breakfast is also a great way to prevent getting too hungry. If you're like me, when you break your routine, even something as small as skipping breakfast, you will get ravenously hungry because your metabolism just isn't used to this. Letting yourself fast for too long can lead to bad choices when you finally do eat again. When your stomach is rumbling, your brain starts to crave fast-release energy foods like processed refined sugars and fats. Therefore, if you skip breakfast, you might be encouraging yourself to make bad decisions later, and you're going to counteract any benefits from it. For example, if you wanted to skip breakfast to reduce your calorie intake, you eating more later after starvation is going to be counterproductive. Now let's switch to the other side. Are there any cons about not eating breakfast? I'm going to use a popular diet as an example. This is intermittent fasting, which, if you're not familiar with it, it means that you go prolonged periods of time without eating and that you only eat within certain intervals. Within a 24-hour period, it's popular to do either 12-hour or 18-hour stretches without eating. So if you cut off your eating in the evening at 8 p.m., then you have to wait until at least 8 a.m. or even as late as noon before you eat again. So is this healthy to do? For some people, this works out pretty well. If they get used to it, then their body becomes accustomed to going long periods of time without eating. When people do this, they usually skip breakfast because when they go from the evening to the late morning hours, then their next meal that they eat is lunch. I think the biggest determining factor for eating breakfast is the quality of the food you eat, not just when you eat it. If you do eat breakfast every morning, but you make unhealthy choices, then it's no longer the most important meal of the day anymore. So many of the traditional American breakfast foods out there are extremely unhealthy, with little that distinguishes them from desserts. Most breakfast cereals are loaded with sugars. And what about your favorite muffins, pancakes, or prepackaged oatmeal? The thing about foods with sugars is that they do have a quick energy release to your brain, and maybe that's what we crave early in the morning, which makes these foods such popular choices. However, one downside of just scarping down a dessert muffin in the car is that this unwholesome food will go through your system quickly, leaving you feeling hungry again, maybe even within the next hour. You could have easily consumed 500 calories, but it may not feel like it made any difference. With breakfast, you are literally breaking your fast. So the food that you're giving your body to kick it into gear needs to be nutritious. So one pro of skipping breakfast could be that you're dodging this potential minefield of poor choices. But there are a lot of foods that you can eat that are good choices. There are wholesome options like whole grain breakfast cereals, toast, and low-fat proteins, which are optimal to start your day with. For me, I love breakfast, and I can't imagine going a morning without it. With the choices that I make, my breakfast usually turns out to be the healthiest meal I eat all day. To conclude, I'm not telling you you have to eat breakfast, but if you do, then it could greatly help you in keeping your eating consistent. And the best thing to be mindful of is be aware of how nutritious the meal is when you do break your fast. If this is your actual breakfast, then choose wholesome options. But if you skip breakfast and wait until lunch, then make sure your lunch is the most nutritious meal of the day. That is all I have for today's episode. As usual, you can like this episode, recommend it to your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And tune in to future episodes where I will continue to give you practical tips on how you can do better with your eating. And if you're on the go, don't forget to check out this podcast form of the show that goes by the same name, Is This Actually Healthy? And I will see you again in another episode. Ciao, ciao!